No! No! No!
What is going on, Ghosts? This is the Horror Pop Extravaganza, episode 59. Sorry, I got a little something in my throat. Aha. It's episode 59, the Horror Pop Extravaganza, where the macabre meets the mindful. As always, I am Pops Ghostly. And with me today is the beautiful, the magnificent, the radiant
Tandy Starfruit.
Candy Starfruit.
Tandy Starfruit.
Tandy Starfruit. Tandy. I love the name Tandy. Tandy Starfruit. Okay, Tandy. I didn't expect Tandy. I really didn't expect Tandy. Oh, dude, how are you? How are you today?
I'm wonderful, dude. I'm all back into my peak physical prowess, if you will.
Nice, nice.
No more pink eye, no more coughing stuff. Doing good.
That's good. I mean, the lack of pink eye is always a good thing in one's life.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing.
That eye goes from pink to white to brown, looking good.
Beautiful transition. Oh man, we've got I'm gonna be up front. I'm a little bit tired. I've been up since about 5:30. It's about
Ooh.
4 or 5 my time right now. We're getting started. Yeah, this MS shit fucks with your sleep, dude. It really does.
Really?
It's a real thing. Um, and then I did a bunch of stuff today too. So if I'm a little loopy, it's just because I'm exhausted, but I'm here. I'm showing up to apologize for not getting the video last week. That was 100% on me. I accept that
Ooh.
responsibility. Something got screwed up. My destination folders were not set up correctly. So I am very, very sorry. I hope you can forgive me, but I'm going to try this week to make sure we get the whole video. But the audio episode is up because I don't know how many of you motherfuckers are watching anyway, looking at us like, yo, yeah, seeing that shit. I mean, it's funny sometimes. I do put little pictures and whatnot up. So I apologize for that, but this week we should be good, and then hopefully moving forward we'll be just yeah, rock and rolling, doing cool things. Today we have a lot to talk about though, because this is a pretty long one. This ran in at over 2 hours. I was like, da, 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 da. I was surprised when I saw 2 hours and 8 minutes. I was like, okay, we'll see what this thing does. Now you had seen the original, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and so this,
Had you?
yeah, I'd seen it relatively close to when it was released. I
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a cool concept, you know, people looking creepy with a bunch of crooked smiles on their faces. It's rad. And if you haven't figured out by now, we are talking about Smile 2 from last year. Not one smile, two smiles. You gotta push it in. But people won't know we're doing something unless we just dead air. Just me.
That's perfect for for an audio podcast. People love it.
Your face was glorious, though. I don't want to grab a still shot of that and draw it. Just send you like the most beautiful pencil drawing of your own face.
I had to get my whole back tattooed in that dude, like Steve-O.
Dude, you know I would do it. You know I would 100%. You'd be
Say Tandy Starfish, dude, right across my back with that huge picture, dude. Yeah.
I'm down.
I'd get so much man ass if I did that.
Oh my goodness. Danny, you beautiful.
Oh my God, I just want to trace the lips on your dude.
Stop. Uh, so Smile 2 2024. Why don't you cue it up? Because I can't off the top of my head think of everybody who's in this or who's involved, but because there's so much good talent, especially the one dude who, make sure you mention his name, even though he's only there for a second. He showed up at the beginning. He was the very first guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
go
that
ahead.
dude is
Take
awesome.
take us away. What is it about? Who made it and who's in it?
Smile 2 2024, rated R, 2 hours and 7 minutes long, written and directed by Parker Finn. So you know you're gonna have some crazy shit when you got a writer and director as the same person. All right, the star power in this, Naomi Scott, who I fucking love, dude. She
Blaze.
brings it in, even in like, so she was the pink Power Ranger in the Power Rangers reboot. And
Right.
fucking slayed, even though that movie sucked.
I mean, yes, it was not great, but I did not hate that Power Rangers reboot. I wasn't
Well,
like completely against it.
I didn't hate it either. And compared to the show, I mean, it's fucking Shakespeare the way that they did the movie. The problem was that you didn't see Power Rangers until 55 minutes in, and you've just lost your audience by that point, you know? But she was great in that. And then the fucking Aladdin live action thing, which I really liked, despite the fact that it was like a Will Smith joint and all that stuff. I thought it was really cool.
I never saw it.
You can't put Will Smith up to Robin Williams. Like that's one of those performances that just isn't going to translate. But
And
I thought
I
that
think
all
there
in
is
all,
something for me, though, really quick. I do think there is something for me as a human being who has naturally been drawn to animation. Drawn to animation. That was pretty good.
but I died.
Um, but you know what I mean? Like, it's hard for me once I've already had an established animated property, especially Disney in the fucking 90s, dude. These guys were hand drawn cells and shit. Like, it was beautiful. Some computer stuff starting to get mixed in, but it wasn't crazy heavy, you know. Beauty and the Beast is one of my favorite. Even if I wasn't even had the volume on, I'll just sit there and watch that cartoon. I'll be like, that shit's fucking gorgeous. And look at the
Yeah,
way they did that. And so with Aladdin and with The Lion King and all these things, there's never been a part of me that's like, oh, I want to go pursue that. I
right.
saw the Lion King one. I think I watched it with my daughter or something, but the other ones I haven't really checked out yet because I'm like the cartoon was too good. But yeah, Naomi Scott, so good.
It's like take the magic out of the Disney movie and then just like whatever's left over is what's on screen.
Right.
That's what those. Yeah, so yeah, I'm totally with you
Right.
as far as those remakes. They don't need to be done, but they've done a couple that were like passable.
And I mean, it's a cash grab for Disney. You know what I mean?
That's-
It's
yeah,
it's it's easy money. Disney was doing it first. They were like, "Yo, what's?" Yeah, and that's funny too. You know, they built Walt Disney on shit that was out of copyright and whatnot. These stories and these fairy tales and stuff. And now they're like, "Fucking, you can't take the mouse. You know, you can take that version, but not the one with the pants, and not the one." Now they're creating all these new different versions that'll last another 100 years, and they'll say, "Oh, this is the official Mickey," you know, like
right,
the old ones, and then it'll be like us with Star Wars. They'll be like, "That's Legends now.
right.
Legends. Y'all need to calm down." It's like, what do you mean? I read a lot of those fucking books, guy. How is
Yeah.
that? Anyway, please continue with Naomi Scott because you're right. And in this, like, she was good up until this point, but this is fucking outstanding, dude.
Yeah, she went to a place
Every
that like probably was uncomfortable
Yeah,
to do
like
this
Heath
movie.
Ledger Joker shit. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Yeah.
yeah, totally.
Because she
Uh,
shows up with some of these and you're just like you could see the fucking desperation and like and also the physicality that came with taking on this performer role where it's like okay you got to be a Lady Gaga Britney Spears-esque type, you know, singer songwriter pop star or maybe more Taylor Swift I would say than even Lady Gaga, but anyway, yeah, she showed the fuck up, dude. I hope she got paid really well to make this movie because she put in the work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then her mom is Rosemary DeWitt in this, and Rosemary DeWitt has been in some great stuff. She's like a powerhouse actress.
Yeah, a lot of the I mean, there's not a performance really in this that I was like, oh, that's, you know, throwaway or anything
Yeah,
like that. Yeah.
everybody came in hard. Lucas Gage played Lewis, and he was the guy who was like the drug connection,
Yes.
and that dude does a good job.
Oh, see, and I'm even thinking before that, he absolutely
Oh,
killed it.
okay.
But I'm thinking this kid, there was a show that I watched on fucking Tubi or something, and now I can't remember the name of it. The Wilds or something, the Farrells. Their name were the Farrells, but it's about this like family in West Virginia, and it had Ryan Hurst in it. Like the right, it was almost like Sons of Anarchy with mountain people, you know, and the town below didn't really like him and all this shit. But this kid from the beginning of this movie, the one who's panicking with the gun and runs into that house, he is good, dude. I wish I would see him show up in more stuff because, yeah, he's real solid.
When I first saw it, I thought it was Devon Sawyer.
Yeah, yeah.
It looked like him, but it's not him. Anyway, another guy who brought it, who I'd never seen before, is Mike Miles Gutierrez Riley, who played Joshua, the assistant.
Assistant, yeah.
That dude, that was such a could have been such a throwaway
Dude, they
part.
all had to go through some really weird emotional things throughout. Each character goes through vastly different emotions, like wildly different things. And as the viewer, and we're going to spoil the shit out of this thing, heads up, you know, coming up right, there's no way to talk about it without spoiling it. But as the viewer, I think it lends itself to that like confusion that what the fuck is going on? Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Can I trust this narration? Can I trust the camera? Can I trust these characters? Because we don't know if they're being taken over or, whatever.
Uh, Peter Jacobson played Morris, that guy that comes in with some information and he tries to help her out.
Yeah. And
Uh,
that'll come up later.
this dude, fucking Ray Nicholson, old Jack's
Yeah.
son, who looks freakishly like his dad when he was
Yeah.
younger.
Yeah, dude.
And
Just
him doing the smile thing, that scene where he's just smiling in the audience.
eyebrows. Yeah.
Dude,
Nicholson. I mean, if you're gonna put somebody in a movie to smile,
yeah,
you use the genes of the smile, and that is Jack Nicholson.
yes. We got Kyle Gallner, who is Joel, and he's the one who you were talking
Okay.
about.
Yeah.
And I want to know, like, he was in something else
He's been
recently.
in a lot. Yeah, he's been in a lot, and he always does a great job. And I'm hoping he gets more, even though shit, man, with everything going on in LA and Hollywood right now, who knows what the fuck's going to be going on for a while. All the love in the world to those people too. Take a second, maybe two, three breaths of silence for all the people out in California. All right. Yeah, because
That
that
felt like more than three breaths. I did like 20 breaths, but
I could have gone like that could have been one breath for me, but I was trying to make them, a decent amount of time. So yes, Nicholson's kid, crazy, crazy
right.
how much looks and shows up in a really creepy, terrifying way.
Absolutely, yeah. And in that argument scene when they're in the car, I just was like, "Oh shit, dude, he's got the same chops as his dad. I can't wait to see what this guy does."
Chinatown all over again.
All
Yeah.
over. Big surprise, Drew Barrymore shows up
On the
as the
Drew Barrymore show.
but
Yeah.
it added some realism to what they were trying to accomplish. I really
Yeah.
thought that really worked. And she shows up almost in a Scream-esque cameo, where it's just her in the beginning of the movie. Let's see who else we got. We had some other really great small performance. I mean, like you said, there was not a bad
Mm-mm.
performance in this entire thing, dude. It was so good. But yeah, those are the main players. And you want to hear what IMDb says this movie's about?
Absolutely.
I just fucking lost my page. God damn it. It
And
won't be
there
like
you
the
go.
last time though, where it was
And
like
I
20.
always and I always go to hit my pad right when you're gonna start reading because I know I'll break and now I gotta say your talk so there's not no dead air because you lost your fucking and I don't know how it takes so long to find it again. It's like it can't be that fucking far, right?
Don't don't fucking don't
What was
fucking
the one you were on before? IMDb fucking like building houses or some shit or playing gardens?
it was like IMDb fucking like book audiobook version.
Audiobooks. Audiobooks. There you go. Okay.
All right, here we go. Smile 2. About to embark on a world tour, global sensation Sky Riley begins experiencing increasingly terrifying and inexplicable events, overwhelmed by the escalating horrors and the pressure of, oh, hang on, I got to read all. Escalating horrors and the pressures of fame, Sky is forced to face her past.
Dun dun dun.
Okay, but that sounds very made for TV. This is way crazier than that.
Agreed, but I think they probably, I mean, you know what? We've tried to look at IMDb and from all these different flicks we've been checking out, and a lot of times they don't make sense to the movie. With this one, Paramount pushed the shit out of this thing. It
Yeah.
got pushed really hard theatrically and then on Paramount Plus, see ads for it all over, but it was well received. The first one was well received. People liked it. It was a creepy idea. You got this doctor who I can't remember her deal. Her patient came in or something like that. And
Yeah.
that's how the whole process started. And they start to figure it out. And then you get to the end and there's this big fucking nightmare monstrosity thing all over the place. Really scary shit. And they cue this one up right away with, okay, we're in this same exact universe. This is the same place and we're going to do this stuff. Because we get this kid who he's hiding in the bushes, right? And then he watches this car pull into a driveway, pulls a ski mask down, approaches this dude and he's like, yo, just fucking walk up to the door. Don't say shit. And this guy's like, yo, bro, okay, I'm just getting coffees. Clearly, this is like a bad person, though. It's like boards all over the windows. And so he takes him inside. The other dude's like, where's my latte? I need fucking lattes. And he's like, oh shit, what the fuck? You know who you're fucking with, kid? And he's like, I don't give a fuck. I need to he's like, I know you and you like killed a little girl or something, almost like he had found these people.
Yeah.
And so he pulls the one guy in front of him and starts stabbing him in the chest, trying to get the other guy to watch. But then other boy takes a shot off, and then he gets a shot off and hits him in the gut. And he starts the explanation or the exposition of somebody has to witness the murder in order for the entity to jump to someone else. I think is
Right.
what it is. Yeah, they have to witness the killing, and then the entity will leave you and go to somebody else. As far as we know up to this point, there's no way to destroy this thing or really even stop this thing. It comes for you, it gets you, you smile, and fucking chaos ensues.
Your only
So,
hope is to pass it on to somebody before it fully gets you.
right. And he, there was another kid at the house though, and he's like, "Oh shit, you weren't supposed to fucking be here," even though the thing was already ruined because the guy was dying. He's like, "No,
Yeah,
you
the guy,
can't
he's like,
die."
"Don't fucking die, don't fucking die." That's so
Yeah,
intense. The guy's bleeding out of his neck, and he
yeah,
just fucking, like you just see the life leave him, dude. And then he's
yeah.
like, "Fuck, fuck!" It's not. He went through all this trouble. It's not going to work. He's shot, and then this fucking crackhead comes in, like with the bag of lunch or whatever, and he's like, "Hey guys, can I get that crack?" Oh no!
Right. Yeah, and he was and that dude's like, "What the fuck is going on?" He's like, "I don't even like these dudes, man." He's like, "Please just don't kill me. I just go by for him, whatever, da 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 da." And then he goes to leave out the front door, and the rest of the mafia is showing up, or the gang, whoever these people are. Oh fuck! You get this really good, intense
It
house.
was.
Like everything in this movie is a chokehold on you. It feels
Yes.
like it's really suffocating. And even here, he's trying to find a way out, and they got shit barred and boarded everywhere. And he does eventually hop out the window, takes off fucking running. They're coming after him, and then just fucking slam out of nowhere, gets hit by a truck. Smeared though across the highway.
Yeah, dude, like his foot comes off, they show it, and they're tracking down the smear, dude, and it's raising up at the same time it's tracking to the side. So by the time you get to the body, you're far enough away from it, but you can see the chunk that's left of him underneath
Yeah.
that van. You're like,
And it made a
damn.
big smile on the
Yeah,
street. It was a big
yeah.
smear of a smile. Yeah. So he got dragged everywhere. And then Smile 2, fucking title card. We're getting into some shit. Now we jump to Sky. Is it Sky? Yeah, Sky Riley.
Hi, Riley.
And she is, I don't even remember where but she's just coming back into the public. I know that, but I don't remember exactly what our opening is. But I
So
know she's, go ahead.
yeah, so she comes back. She's changed her hair. She used to have really long black hair, and now she's got this like almost like Zool looking, super short blonde hair. She said she did base her performance off of Lady Gaga.
Yeah, I could
And
see
so
that. And there was a couple times though she kind of looked like James Franco. Like,
what?
yeah, if you go back and look, dude, she kind of looked like James. I was sitting next to her, I'm like, yo, right now, does she kind of look like James Franco? And I'm somebody who never talks during movies, but I was like, I need to express this now before I forget it. And she looked and watched for a second. She's like, holy shit. And I'm like, yeah. Anyway, continue, please.
But yeah, so she starts off on the Drew Barrymore show, and it's setting up that she has just she went away for a long time. She was on
A
tour.
year. I think it was a year.
Yeah, and she flipped the fuck out on tour. And she says that like I was being pushed every different way and that I was under all this stress and I just fucking lost it. And she like she had to go away and go into like a psychiatric treatment facility
She
for
also was in that terrible fucking accident that killed her boyfriend, and she was hanging
oh
upside
yeah,
down.
that was the thing. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
that was the catalyst for it.
Right, right.
She was in a car accident and her boyfriend died. And when you hear the story, it's not nearly as impactful as when you fucking see it later.
Yeah, yeah.
But we know that she had some problems. She had some drug problems. She had some trauma. And she is coming back out and saying, like, okay, I'm coming back out. This is my rebirth. I'm going back on tour. I feel like she has like a new album out and she's
Something, yeah.
trying to salvage her career, but she also has more pressure now because she knows, like, if I fuck up now, it's over. My
That's it.
career is over.
Right.
Like
And
my
her
last,
mother is her manager, like her
like
primary
her
manager. Yeah.
manager and her mom is telling her like,
This
"Oh, baby,
is
you gotta
big.
like make this work." And she did so good at playing that like stage mom.
Oh, dude, she kept her fucking composure and
Mhm.
she just nailed it until you get closer to the end when she kind of loses it, but wasn't even her. I don't think so. Um,
Right. But you could just see the whole time like how shitty it was because she acted like everything was for her daughter, and in a way her whole life was for her daughter, but she was living vicariously through that. Like she never did anything with her life, and so it's so important to her that her daughter does.
she even calls her out on it. And,
Yeah.
yeah. Which it's fucked up though. A lot of people be doing that shit. Not even at this level. You have like fucking dance moms on
Uh,
whatever network, and you'll see shit like that. It's like, people going crazy over stuff like this. So, but she plays the very, very business-like manager. She's almost what's her name? The Kardashians' mom.
yeah, yeah,
Um, Reminded me a little bit of that. And then you have the assistant, Joshua, who is really just trying to do the best fucking job this kid possibly can.
right.
He's trying to work his way up in the stuff. Anything they need, I'll help you, I'll get you. Let's do that. So Drew's super excited for her. Like you said, this adds a nice levity to the whole thing that hey, she might be a real kind of pop star, and they put the money into getting, the not all the arenas looked great, like some of the CGI was clearly what it is, but who gives a fuck, without, how much you'd have to pay that many extras unless you could line it up with a concert and be like, hey, everybody want to be part of a movie and shit and blah blah
The
blah.
last scene they did.
Is that what they did?
The
Yeah.
last scene was at a real show. Yeah.
Yeah, because that one looked all right, but some of the other ones with like the fake
Yeah.
stages and stuff, the lighting was just whatever.
Yeah.
But she's already traumatized, and I think we see her hurt her back pretty quick because she
Yeah.
goes to get her Vicodin relatively fast. She's doing all her routine in front of I don't know who that guy was either. Was he like
I felt like
the
he was just
dark-haired
like the
guy?
producer of the video that they were shooting, but had some past with her before.
Right. But he also seemed important for like the tour. Like he was gonna, or maybe he was like the choreographer for the tour.
Right, or the promoter, something. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
because he
feel
was
like he
always
had
there
a couple of
around.
things going on, but yeah, he
Right.
knew her personally, but he was also like choreographing this dance, and she like does she the dance is really fucking impressive. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't fake that as an actor. You either can do that shit or you can't do that
You're
shit.
Fred Astaire, you're not.
Right, exactly. And
Right.
she's a singer too. She sang all her songs
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Aladdin, hard songs to sing.
Right.
So anyway, oh, and I guess they released an album for this movie too, like an actual fucking LP of the songs that she sang in this movie.
That's kind of cool though.
Yeah.
That's
And they
fair.
released it like then they did, I guess, like a website, like a total legit like Blair Witch style website of like her whole tour and everything.
That's cool though. I
Yeah.
like people be doing that. Make the internet that again.
Fuck yeah, dude. Make it useful.
Right. Okay, so which is a worse hurting your ass while you're dancing, this or the substance?
Oh, dude, the substance. Like
Okay.
I watched Smile and then the substance the next week, and I'm a little bit fucked up.
I believe that, dude. And we are going to be talking about the substance next week. So if you haven't
Fuck
seen that one yet, be sure to check it out. But she does get hurt and she's worrisome of these, or she's very protective of her scars from the accident. And we see them, and her whole chest from like neck to belly button is one big scar. And then up her spine, you have another great big scar. So she decides to go to her former drug dealer and be like, yo, I need some fucking just some Vicodin. I don't need anything else. And she gets there and he shows up at the door. And this is great. Like you said,
Yeah.
this dude performs, man. He performs psychosis in a really good way. And there's very few things as frightening in my mind as seeing shit that nobody else could see.
Yes, dude. It's very scary. And also it's scary to be in the presence of somebody who you don't know what they're going to do from moment to moment.
Right. Yes. Yeah. That gets uncomfortable really.
Like I was uncomfortable for her because he is acting like a fucking psycho. we understand why, especially if you've seen the first movie.
Right.
But he's like not only got this psychosis thing going, but he's also strung the fuck out on drugs.
He's doing all kinds of like Tony Montana levels of coke and shit. He's got a pile of it on the counter, like,
I
and she,
love his apartment though.
oh, so good. I was like,
I
man,
want to live there.
right. You can be crazy as you want, just stay out of my room. Um, so he though realizes it's her, and he's like, "What the fuck am I?" He's like, "You gotta get the fuck out of here! No, you gotta stay! What the fuck am I doing?" It's Sky Riley. Come on in, come on in. Oh, you just need some of this, and she's like, or he grabs a knife at first and gets her by the throat, or a sword. It was a big ass
A
sword.
sword, yeah, like a katana
Yeah,
sword.
yeah. And she's like, "What the fuck is that?" And he's like, "Oh shit, I don't know, man. Like shit's been crazy." And we get the notion here that the entity, the smile entity, can take over other things as well because he had responded to her text message and he's like, I don't even remember. Like, I didn't do that. I didn't text you.
But
Something.
you wonder, like, is it the entity or is he fucking nuts? Did he do it in his like freaked out rage? But he's freaked out because he's like, I haven't seen you in like 2 fucking years, and you just show up at my door today. That's
Right.
too weird.
Right.
So he
Yeah.
thinks she's part of it.
And the fact that he was already getting the time confusion stuff going on,
Yeah.
where she experiences later on. I feel this was a little bit of foreshadowing for that, that, hey, this thing fucks with you and makes you feel like you're gone for a long time, but it's only been a couple of seconds or a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
He loses his shit and then is like, okay, I'm gonna go get you your pills and shit. And she's sitting on the couch looking at the coke, looking at the other stuff, like, fighting her demons and shit like that. Just wants to get the fuck out of there more than anything else. And then he's not coming back. She's like, yo, fucking homie, like, what up? Where's my Vicodin? Like, my back hurts. I can't do nothing. All they give me is Tylenol. No answer. Fucking homie, what up? No answer. And then this dude comes walking out with a 35-pound plate, iron plate that you would put on a dumbbell or a barbell, and just proceeds on to smash himself in the face with it. Very methodically, though, very rhythmically.
Nice.
Rhythmic, just wham, and then lower it real slow. So you got to watch what's the new damage. Wham, and then lower it down again. Now his fucking eyeballs like hanging out of his head, and his nose is almost gone.
That
But
was where I went from like, oh, this is a cool movie to like, I must make Pops Ghostly watch this because that practical effect, dude.
it was good.
Love
Yeah.
that
I don't know
shit.
how much. Yeah, it was. And they did a good combination of the practical and the, computer imaging. But this looked really good. A lot of it looked really good. And they didn't hide from the gore either. They ramped that shit up in this movie, man, because it goes up to 11 quick. And she's just sitting there watching, getting blood splattered on her face, like little flecks of blood keep hitting her. But he was smiling the whole way in, like the smile, I guess, that we know. She fucking panics and is like, I got to get the. Oh, she pukes first, though. Because
Yeah.
she does worry later on. She's Googling, can you get DNA evidence from vomit?
I thought that was cool though. It was a nice little touch, that they threw
Yeah.
in there. It's like
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. I would
Right.
be worried about that too.
Oh, for sure. I'd be like, absolutely. Like if you're puking, like unless the contents of your stomach, who knows? The acid, like if it doesn't,
Right. I don't
I don't know
know.
when it becomes your DNA. But there'd probably be like spit, you'd be spitting it.
Yeah.
Either way. She pukes, takes off running, and heads for home. Gets there, and I want to say this is where she receives the first ominous text messages, or the first of the ominous messages.
Yeah.
I knew you were at Lewis's last night,
Yeah.
or something. And she's like, what the fuck? And then almost text back, and then doesn't text back, and then almost text back, and then doesn't. And she's kind of freaking out a little bit for obvious reasons. And we get little hints of her in the car accident. We maybe see her like or hear her screaming because she has these nightmares all the time. And she's constantly pounding fucking Voss water, dude. Like if anybody fucking promoted the fuck out of this movie, it
That's
was
good.
Voss fucking water because
And
she's
they told her we could do this digital, and she's like, no, 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 I want to do it. And she said that was like the biggest mistake of her life because chugging one of those waters was intense.
oh,
And
dude,
she
I
had
can
to do it
imagine.
like 4 or 5 times.
Right. Oh,
That's what's on screen. Can you imagine how many times she fucked up and like choked a little bit and had
right.
to redo
Right.
it and slam a whole water?
Yeah, she was killing it.
That because like it was like a therapy thing. Like they were like slam a whole bottle of water and you'll like reset.
Right. It'll take you out of the, whatever you're in, whatever is going on with you, it'll pull you back out of that and you'll be okay. So she's pounding Mad Waters. I want to say goes to sleep or something after the text message, has a nightmare, but then real quick is like, damn, I wish my best friend was around. And her mom's like, you should try to call your friend. And we see some of the past text messages like, you fucking coattail riding bitch or something like that. And she shoots her a text though. She's like, da da da. And then she eventually gets up the nerve to call her. But I feel like I might be missing something here though, in between before she actually calls her. But they get together pretty quick.
Pretty quick, yeah. And then she just like shows up like that. She finally answers, like she calls back, I think. And she's like,
No, she answered, I think, on like the first ring when she called her from her apartment.
"Oh, really? Yeah." Well, I
Yeah.
know she like, yeah, she shows up real quick and she's just like, "Look, I know we have history. I fucked up. I'm really fucking
Right.
sorry, but I'm like in a bad place and I need you," which is crazy because you're like, "Oh, dude, like that's hard to deal with because you've already burned that bridge. You fucked over your friend. And
Right.
now you're reaching out to apologize, but you're only doing it because you need her." And
And
it's like
these are
probably what had been going on before.
this is like her oldest friend,
Like the one you
pre-fame.
can trust because it's
Yeah.
pre exactly.
Right. It's the one you can trust. So her friend is like, oh, yeah, I'll come over. And she comes over. They hang out for a bit. They're sleeping in bed together. After she's like, what the fuck is going on? She's like, I don't fucking know. Like this guy, she tells the story then about the drug dealer. And
Right.
she's like, yeah, this dude, she's like, oh, did you fucking tell anybody? She's like, no, I can't. And that, to your point, it'll ruin my career. She brings that up quite a few times. I can't let everybody down. And so she might even ask her, like, hey, you want to stay the night?
She offers and it surprises her. She's like, "You want
Yeah.
me to spend the night?" And she's like, "You would
Yeah.
do that for me?"
Yeah.
And yeah, of course. Like
Right.
we're
And
ride or dies.
they're not ride or dies till they're actually riding and dying. But there's something happens in the bed.
Yeah, she wakes up in the night and the friend is just laying there smiling at her. And she's like, "Why are you doing that? Stop it."
And I thought something was said. I thought she was talking to her, like whispering to her, and there's something ominous said, like, oh, it's because you're a fucking terrible person or something. And then she turns just that, "Yeep," and it gets real big on there. And then she wakes up, friend is there. I think mom's there for a little bit, and they're going to some event signings.
Well, I love this scene because the mom comes in and the friend says hi, and the mom doesn't say anything to her.
Yeah.
And
Very
she's just like,
Sixth
"Oh,
Sense.
okay."
Yeah. Yeah. Very Sixth Sense. But she's got to go to this autograph signing. And maybe this was after the costume thing because she gets all worked up about having to wear the thing that shows her scars. She doesn't want to do that. She's going to go sign autographs for a while. And the autographs start going weird like from the onset, like, and it's this is a great touch that they threw in genuine, like, could happen in real life weird along with the actual supernatural weird here. I've been to a lot of conventions. I've witnessed some things where people seem like a little too crazy. We've all read stories about stalkers and shit like that, stalking celebrities and whatnot. But this dude walks up like all fucking like kind of greasy and shit, and he's got this shirt, and he's like, "Can you write to Fernando or something? Love Skylar or love Sky Riley."
Like fucked
And
up psoariasis on his face too. It's
yeah,
real.
but he's very sweaty though. He's
Uh-huh. Yeah, and like
very,
too
very
nervous to like talk
sweaty.
to her.
Yeah,
I always wonder, like like what you were saying is like those stars that come to those conventions and stuff. They're just sitting at a table, dude, with a picture of them like 20 years younger behind them,
yeah.
and they're just dealing with fans like just walking up and being like whatever, and they're asking for money for a signature. And I can only imagine I mean, that's a vulnerable thing to do.
Sure,
They
I think a
probably
lot of
have
them,
a lot
though,
of
the people
going
I've
on
talked
there.
to, yeah, the people I've talked to, though, they love that shit, dude. They're like, this keeps me alive, seeing the people who are keeping these franchises alive and all that stuff. Because if you go to a convention, say, and the main attraction is like the Evil Dead cast is getting back together, you're
Right.
gonna get every fucking Evil Dead fan and people just like, yeah, yeah. But then there are, some of those, like you couldn't put someone like fuck Taylor Swift at a table like that. You know what I mean? It wouldn't.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think most conventions are a little bit different where she's doing her signing though and it's going good and like, hey, you want your picture? And this dude starts grabbing her like, I fucking love you. I can make you happy. And you think he's gonna be the smiley one, but he's not. He's just fucking creepy as shit.
Yeah.
And that's scary.
And they drag his ass out. And
Right.
then the next girl in line, she's like, Okay. She actually runs backstage because he freaked her out so much. Her
She
mom is like,
pounds the boss real quick, dude. You got to
yeah.
pound the boss.
And old mom's back there to like talk her back out and be like,
Mhm.
I want you to be okay, but like you really need to get back out there and finish signing and taking these pictures. And she's like, okay, all right, I'll do it.
But I think the mom even might have said though, like, "Are you okay to keep doing this?" She still does care for her as a daughter a little bit, but
Right.
at the
She's
same
not
time,
holding.
she's like, "Yeah." But she goes back out to do it, like you said. This little redhead girl comes walking up, just fucking smiling the whole way, and then smiles the whole way past her, like going the other direction with her mom. Super creepy stuff. Where do we jump from the autographs? Because I feel like pretty soon, because he texts her like, "I know this is Sky Riley."
Yeah.
And that's when she's like, "What the fuck do you know?" He's like, "Listen, I can help you, whatever's going on." But I feel like she has experienced some pretty intense phenomena by now. The people
Mhm.
fucking dancing all over her house and shit.
Oh fuck, that was crazy, dude.
That was so well choreographed.
So well choreographed. Yeah, is that like it's that like strobe light effect where
Yeah,
like, she's looking at them and they're all like moving and coming at her and she like closes her eyes and they and opens them again and they're all frozen in the positions.
right.
And
And
then she starts like backing up and they start slowly moving again. Like that really got under my skin and I was like, "Well done, movie."
yeah, it was solid. But no, this was after that was after she met Lewis because or what no, what was his name? Morris,
Morris.
who she met at the bar. I loved this when she met him. And to me, this is where the movie truly turned. And I noticed, I don't know if you noticed it as well, but on the bench, written behind her on the bench, it said, "You're fucked." Like
Oh,
they
yeah,
had
I didn't
written in
notice that.
Sharpie. And I was like, looking at it, I'm like, wait a second. Like, does that really say that? And then I looked a couple times and I feel like her turning down his offer right here was this was the last hope. Maybe.
Right,
Who
right,
knows? But I think this is maybe real Morris. Like this is real Morris trying to truly help her because his brother ties back to like the first fucking movie, I think.
right.
Um, Trying to help her, and he explains the whole thing. Like, hey, this is how it works. It jumps from body to body. You either have to kill yourself or with nobody around, or you have to murder or no, he was gonna kill her and then bring her back to life. That was the plan. He's like, I'm gonna kill you and it won't have anywhere to go. We'll trap it in this freezer. It'll die off and then I'll resuscitate you. I'll Pulp Fiction you and bring you right back to life. Don't worry, it's gonna happen and it's gonna be great. She's
Sounds
like,
like a
"You are
sketchy plan to me.
fucking crazy." Yeah. And she tells him, she's like, "You are fucking crazy, dude." And he's like, "I know you've been seeing this shit. It's why you keep sitting here listening to everything that I'm saying." But it doesn't take long for the patrons of the bar to start noticing that it's Sky Riley, and they all got their phones out. And that's another thing is they really paint the culture. I think the way that it is, like nobody's there to really help. Maybe
Yeah,
what's that Gyllenhaal movie, Nightcrawler?
Nightcrawler. Yeah. Ugh.
Fuck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
That was a
upsetting.
tough pill to swallow, dude. Because how many times has that happened, like for real?
Yeah.
Anyway. So from here, where does she go from here?
This is the point where then it might have been we might have mixed up the apartment thing. The apartment thing might have
Oh,
happened
it
like
happened right after this because I feel like this is where the demon shoved his fucking hand down her mouth. And when they were all on top of her and it was super grabby and all over her face.
uh-huh. And then she winds up in the hospital after that.
Right. And her mom's there. She's at this super ritzy, fancy hospital. They're like, "We found you." But I also think there was another time travel-y thing.
I
There was
think
another
maybe we got to see the entire accident happen after this point too.
somewhere around there.
Yes,
Whatever. I've only seen it the one time. I'm
me
trying.
too. Yeah. So and this is where like the movie really does feel like it goes off the rails. It feels
Where
like
you
a
don't
panic.
know what to
And yeah,
trust.
you don't know what's real anymore, who's really there, who's not.
Dude, it reminded me of Arnowski's mother. Like when J Law's trying to get out and she's like, "Just get me the fuck out of here." And all them people are all over. Ah. Yeah, it's very, very claustrophobic and very suffocating. And nobody will listen to her. No one
Yeah,
will listen to what
trying
she
to
has to
tell.
say. She keeps trying to explain to everyone, like, "I am not well right now. We need to, do something."
There's
Oh,
that scene too where
we forgot they had booked the public event though.
yes, so that producer guy comes out and says, "Hey, there's this thing happening. It's for kids. It's a really good charity, and like We booked a bunch of talent, and we would really love it if you'd be there." And she's like, I don't want to do that. Like, I can't get up on stage and
Right. And he's like, all you got to do is read from the teleprompter. You'll
right.
be fine. Don't worry about it. And then when she finally does get up on stage, the teleprompter's all fucked up.
Yep.
Her dead boyfriend is back, like chasing her around on the stairs. She sees him walking up. And these people are all just sitting there like, holy shit.
Yeah,
And then,
she's coming apart on stage. And I was like, wow, what an acting thing here. Where in the beginning of it, she's got it all together, except she smears her lipstick.
yeah. And nobody seemed to notice.
Nobody noticed, and she walks out on stage like that. And then as the movie goes on, you realize she probably didn't really have smeared
Right.
lipstick.
Yeah.
It was on her head.
Because she's like, oh, and I'd like to thank such and such. And she says her boyfriend's name and or welcome up so and so. And they're all like, you get that
Yeah.
collective gasp.
Well,
And
then
then
she
she
starts talking
really,
about like being a crackhead and stuff.
right. She's like, you don't know what it's like fucking living this life. She's like, and this little old lady that she ends up chucking off the fucking stage through a table.
I kind of love that.
So did I, dude. It was so unexpected. Because she thinks it's her dead boyfriend, but really
Yeah.
in reality, she's holding this little old lady in a blue dress and just fucking throws her straight off the stage through a table.
Yeah, man.
I was like, damn, that's some like Friday night wrestling shit right there. So want to say this is might have been when she went to the hospital. She runs out of here and takes off somewhere. Where'd she goes
I
somewhere?
don't know because there's also that scene where she's walking, she's kind of freaking out. She pulled a big chunk of her hair out, which is
Oh, which is why
why
she got it cut to begin
she
with.
cut it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And she sees Morris come out of her dressing room, and she walks in there, and the place is fucking trashed. Like
Yeah. No,
somebody's
not Morris, Lewis.
no, not the assistant is
Yeah,
coming.
yeah. Yeah, Morris was the guy at the bar. I think
Oh
Louise.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, I got fucked up.
That's all right. But yeah, she goes in there and everything is destroyed.
Yeah,
This was after she got off stage because something had happened again when she was on the stage. She's going through a lot of shit at this point.
yeah. They were doing a dress rehearsal, and she
Yeah.
fucking hurt her back again.
Right.
So she had to like storm off. She's kind of like crying and trying to hold it together, and she's going back to her dressing room maybe to get one of those Vicodin.
She's like, who fucking pushed me? And he's like,
Oh
I
yeah.
don't think anybody pushed you. Yeah. And so she goes back to her room and it's just trashed. Everything is smashed up all over the place. And she's screaming at him. She's like, you fucking did this. I don't know why. And her mom's like, you need to calm down, drink some water, drink some Voss water, VOSS, in a glass container. We make sure to smash one. Oh, because that happened too at her house. She dropped the water bottle and then that was gone. There was shit happening all over. So she's in the apart or she's there, but then she takes off from there. I feel like that's when she's like, I got to get the fuck out of here and calls
Yeah.
up what's her face and is like, take me to Staten Island because I have to get rid of this evil that's inside me. And she's
Yes.
like, okay, I'll come pick you up. Or no, that's when she left the hospital because she steals the guard's gun. You're right. She's
Oh
at the
yeah, yeah,
hospital
yeah.
first. Yeah, she's at the hospital and fucking or her mom murders herself. Her mom
Yes.
gets all smiley and just fucking jams a piece of glass in her eye and like pokes 3 or 4 different spots in her throat. I was like, oh, dude.
That was rough to watch.
Yeah. And she's like, what the fuck? And then
But
she
then
gets
she's trying to like get out of the room, and she looks at her hand, and she's got a piece of bloody glass in her hand, and she's
right.
like, "Oh fuck, I killed my mom."
Right. She is the culprit. And so she throws a hoodie on over top of her hospital gown, tries to take off, is leaving, and then runs into Luis or Lewis, I can't remember. I think it's Luis in the lobby, and he's bringing food or something up, and he's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And then she goes towards the guard, like, "Oh, help me," grabs the gun and is like, "Oh, you get the fuck away from me." Throws one up into the sky. And it's a big, like 45 or something, too. I'm like, that's a big ass handgun. And she takes off outside, gets the driver out of the car, and that's when her and Gemma jump in the car and said, "Okay, GPS." She's like, "We gotta go to Staten Island." And I like that first. She's like, "Ew, why?" I was like, "That's funny."
Yeah, and she's like, "Let's go," and she's like, "What are you doing? You can't even drive." And she's like,
Right,
"Oh yeah."
right. And she's like, "Okay, I'll drive." So, and they're driving all over the fucking road. We see, up a bird's eye view, swerving in and out of traffic, trying to get to Staten Island super fast, and then gets into an accident.
I feel like her friend starts getting weird again.
Maybe, yeah.
And this is where we find out that she pulls open her phone to look at her texts, and we see that the last texts that were sent were those mean texts. That
Right.
she never sent the
Right.
texts that were like making up, and this is
She
not her
calls her
friend
in the
that's with her.
car. She calls her in the car. That's right.
Right. She was
She's
like, "How did you show up so fast on that first night?" And
yeah.
she's like, because I'm your fucking crazy. Ah.
Right, right. And
Yeah,
it's like, yeah. And the big thing about Smile, the idea is that the monster feeds on your internal trauma.
right.
And so whatever you have going on in your life, so the traumatic events of Gemma, the traumatic events of her accident, the traumatic nature of being like a young pop star and dealing with all that, that's what the monster uses against you, whatever kind of trauma you have. So she's like, well, what the fuck? And then, like you said, she turns and looks and is like, big smile, scary time. Now,
And then she realizes she's driving the car. She's
right,
not the passenger. And that's why when we saw the car swerving and shit,
because
it's
she
because
didn't
it's
know how
being
to drive.
driven by somebody who doesn't know how to drive. So all this shit starts like come into focus now. And I don't know when it happened, but we saw the car accident and it was fucking horrific.
I think it's right around here. No, it might be right before she walks on stage at the end.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's right before she
Yeah.
walks on stage because that's the biggest trauma is the death of him and the events leading up to that. But she does get to Morris somehow. And he's like,
Yeah.
okay, this is the fucking plan, dude. We're gonna fuck do this thing. I'm gonna hook you up. I'm gonna lower you down, lower your temperature in this freezer from he got an old Pizza Hut on lease. Like, I'm gonna lower your body temperature, kill you. We're gonna kill the thing, and then I'm gonna bring you back to life. She's like, okay, I don't care. Do whatever you got to do. He's like, oh, and then I'll inject you with this adrenaline thing, and this will bring you back. You know, we got to make sure we see the adrenaline shot. She and this freaked me out when he's like, "Oh yeah, the door don't open from the inside," and he's just got a fucking brick there. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I wouldn't be in there. I'd be like, nope,
Fuck no.
we're gonna tie and bungee that bitch from outside, like with
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff. Steel chain, open it
Yeah.
with steel chain and padlock the fuck out of it to where somebody would have to be cutting through it with a torch in order to get it to close. But she's in there on the table. Her breath is getting really frosty, and he's like, "I just got to go run and grab one thing," and he goes outside. Morris gone.
Yeah.
And this shit gets creepy, dude.
This was
Super.
really creepy. I just felt so, I felt the isolation. I felt
Yeah.
the cold. Like
Yeah.
they did such a good job.
It was awesome. And she's kind of, calling out. And we've seen her again. I can't stress how good her performance is. What we've seen her do, the trauma we've seen her go through as an actor. It's unreal. Like she brings everything to the table. And you feel so fucking bad for this character, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
So bad for this character. By the time she's on that table, like just give her some reprieve. You know what I mean? Kill her or
Right.
don't. Do something
Right.
with her. Because we're just watching this girl get tortured for
That,
hours.
that goes to the performance too, because she is a pop star, drug addict, kind of a bitch to everybody she's around. And we still see the humanity in her, and we're still
Right.
rooting for her through this whole movie.
Speaking of the pop star bit, though, I do think this movie could have been about 20 minutes shorter. We saw like whole dance sequences where I was
Yeah.
like, I get it. She can dance, put it on screen, but for the sake of it's a horror movie, a lot of people don't go to horror movies for these super extended run times. It's
Yeah.
just not so I feel like some of it could have been trim off some of the fat with some of that shit. But either way, this final scene is so good. And she comes first face to face with the reality of the accident that she was in. And like you said, fucking A, dude. You think it was some traumatic thing, her boyfriend died, but then you see them leading up to it, and they're both fucked up doing bumps of coke. She's in the passenger seat, they're driving wherever on the coast somewhere. And he they start arguing and he's like, she's like, I'm done with you or something. And he's like, oh, fucking great, because you're a fucking psychotic bitch. And he's screaming at her, like, and she's fucking screaming at him and starts hitting him. And he's like, what the fuck are you doing? Crazy. Bang, bang, bang. And they're screaming at each other. And then she just, you want to see fucking crazy? And grabs the fucking steering wheel and yanks him right off like a cliff or some shit. And they go tumbling like, boom, straight into a bunch of trees. Really, Really well shot too. I mean, CGI heavy, but you got to nowadays. Like, you don't just go out and crash fucking $70,000 cars anymore. The studio's like, no, I'll
Yeah.
pay some fucking intern to make a CGI one and mat it in there somewhere. But it looked really cool. And they go flying off, and then we see the aftermath of her slowly waking up, like this realization coming in, the awareness, and then her eyes start to blink open and she's fucking screaming and there's blood dripping everywhere. There's lights all over the place. And she finally turns around to look and he's just like broken neck, tree coming through the front of the windshield
It
and shit.
landed in a tree and he got most of the tree, like
Yeah.
Logan style. And then she got one in the back. Like, I think it went through the front and then came out the back. And that's the hole in
Yeah.
her back, right by
That
her spine.
right. Where she got her scars from. But it shows her there sitting there screaming and shit and like, "Rah!" And at this point, nobody's listened to her where she's like, I don't even know if I'm ready for this shit yet. Like, it's only been a year. I'm still processing a lot of things. But now we have her trauma made manifest in this mirror image version of herself, this dark alter ego, the shadow, whatever, Sky. And she's telling her, she's like, this is all your fucking fault. Like, this is all your trauma and shit. And there's nothing you can do, da 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 da. And we get this really cool exchange between the two of them, almost like Mia and fucking Evil Dead Mia in 2013. But Sky, we're like, yeah, here comes the big fucking heroic moment and shit. She grabs the needle full of the adrenaline, stabs old girl like wham after they fight for a bit because she's throwing her across the fucking room, like just boom.
Yeah.
And she comes up, she's scrambling for this thing, and she stabs her in the neck. And she's like, ah! For a second, and then all of a sudden, just brrr, like you can't do shit. And I was like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Brutal. So she is then put into the little cocoony type thing. It looked like almost like a scarab or something, some kind of a tomb or a sarcophagus. And then it opens on the other side, and she's on the stage getting ready to go out on
In
stage.
the outfit she didn't want to wear because it
The
showed her
outfit.
scars.
Yeah, in the outfit she didn't want to wear. So now there's even more trauma about that. And she's out there on stage looking out into the crowd, and all these fans are like, Yay, Sky. She walks out and at first is just like standing there crying for a while, and they all just stop. And she looks and her mom's there, and the assistant's there, and the other guy's there, and all these people she thought were dead or apparently not. Well, at least her mom. And so she sees all these people and then is crying and then lifts her head up and like has the crazy smile on her face. And then we turn to just looking at the audience. We're looking from Sky's point of view for the most part, looking out at the audience. And you just start hearing this like fucking thump, thump, like this crazy. And then pretty soon people's faces are like, ah, everybody's screaming. Ah.
The one that got me is the little girl with her mom who's like, yeah,
Yeah.
he's coming out. And
Yeah.
then she starts being like, oh no.
Yeah, and so she shoves the microphone all the way into one of her eye sockets and kills herself on stage, but not before we see this huge fucking whatever it was monster, this nightmare monster of just like arms and face like over top of her. And in this, my thought is that this is what the smile monster wanted the whole time, because now you have like 10,000, however many people are now all infected with this thing.
Right, right.
You needed a star to do it on such a grand scale. And then that's the credits, as far as I remember. And I don't know if there's a post credits thing or anything. I didn't stick around and
I
check.
didn't either. I was ready to go enjoy some life after this her harrowing movie.
It
But
was
yeah,
intense, dude.
fuck, dude, if I could get in and direct the third one, I'd make it like a post-apocalyptic movie. Like after that concert, everybody went out and the thing just fucking spread exponentially. And so like now the world is fucked up and there's just a few survivors like trying to keep it.
Theoretically, that's what it would be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But even at the end of that movie, it's the whole thing is like, can you trust yourself? Can you trust the narrator? Can you trust Sky's vision? Can you trust any of the visions in the third act? I don't know. What I
Well, and it
do
makes me
know is
wonder, was
that,
Morris ever even a real person?
see, I think he was at the bar. I
I
really
think he was at
think
the
he
bar
was at the
too.
bar too. I think he
But
was at the
I
bar.
don't think he was at the end at all.
No, no, I think that was all monster.
It's completely under the spell.
Yeah, because he was, that's what he even told her. He's like, we got to do it right now. You got to come with me right now because the longer it stays in you, the more it's going to start corrupting everything you see and fucking, because this thing can manipulate reality essentially to no end.
Right.
Yeah, and if I would say if they make a third one, I would hope that they find a way to combat the monster because you can't just keep having this unkillable thing that shows up, takes somebody through the ringer, and then it's over. There's got to be so even with Art the Clown, by the third movie, we've got this now he's kind of a little more submissive to the bigger demon and doesn't do certain shit. Like there has to be something there. Because if not, it's just I don't know, torture porn.
Every Superman needs his kryptonite.
Yeah. Yeah. Every Superman, dude.
But they have the idea. They've already like established that like, okay, so like it didn't work with her because she tried it like with Morris in a Pizza Hut. But maybe in a sequel, they could get somebody that actually like is going to kill the person, bring them back, and maybe do something new with this entity.
Put an
I would
end
love
to
to
it.
see where they can go from this one because it between the
I'm
first
sure.
one
I
and the
think it
second
made
one,
pretty. I'm sure. I think it did pretty good. Critically, it got
it was like an
received well.
independent.
Fans, yeah, fans received it really well.
Yeah,
Um, so I don't doubt. There'll be another one if there's money to be made. There's
yeah,
money.
for
There's a
sure.
lot of houses and shit that got to be rebuilt and fucking all kinds of stuff, dude.
Yeah,
Man, that shit is crazy. Every time I think about it, I'm like, fuck. And I was stationed out there when one of the wildfires, and it is, man, when it's just like snowing ash and you could literally see mountains just burning and shit.
yeah.
That's
Well, if
scary.
you've never been to Malibu, like Malibu is you're driving up a mountain, a forested mountain, and
Yeah,
then you drop down and you just hit the ocean,
right.
like forest and ocean, and that shit all burned.
Crazy. Okay, so out of 5 smiles, how many do you give smile to?
4.75.
Damn, son.
Yeah, dude, I really enjoyed this movie.
Nice, nice. I'm glad you did. I'm glad
Yeah.
you found something. I was glad when you text me. You're like, "Yo, I got something. Like, you want to watch this shit?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, let's do it."
I felt like it brought the gore, it brought the like psychological terror. It just hit on all things, and like it was a big thing on the performances. If they weren't strong, that movie would have fell apart. But I felt like the
Yeah,
performances were top notch.
I'm going 3.75.
All right, all right.
And only because for me, it just ran a little too long. I feel
Mhm.
like there was
I can
too
see that.
much and a couple of dots. And I know the dots were meant to be, I feel like there were some pieces missing where it's like, okay, because I'm sure this movie was originally fucking 3 hours long or whatever, you know. And they were like, yo, you got to trim it down to at least 210, dude. Like, can you get it
And
to
I think that if they would have done that, the director would have lost that cold open, and that cold open was fucking hot fire. So
Yeah, no, the cold open was great and it set it up. But I was also wondering, her connection to or wondering how Lewis ended up, or her drug dealer, whoever that was, ended up picking up the thing. Was it the little kid who was running drugs like after the fact? Like the stories never really seemed to coincide. It just said, hey, this is how this shit happens.
right.
Yeah, not really. This was connected in any sort of a way in a movie that's not connected in any sort of a way. It's nice to have a couple pieces that are like, oh, okay, that through line feels good. But for me, and I've been really thinking about our ratings and stuff. Like a 3.75 is a good score. That's a really good
Yeah.
score.
Oh,
I don't want people to think I'm gonna shit on their movies, but this one, even though we have talked about a couple that were like, fuck, you're like, what the fuck? The Greasy Strangler, man. Hootie tootie. Disco cutie.
I had to go through due to my Prime membership and go to my settings to get that fucking picture of the Greasy Strangler off my television, dude. I had to erase it from the things that you've watched so that I could get it out of my life.
That's beautiful. I love it. Um, yeah. No, cool movie. Definitely check it out. Paramount Plus. Paramount has the exclusive rights to that. So if you got the Paramount, if you don't, if you've never had it, you can probably get like a 7-day trial or some shit like that and just
Yeah, it's also $5.99 on Amazon Prime if you just want
oh,
to
that's
rent it.
not bad. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's not bad. Oh, that is right. It is available everywhere to rent
yeah.
and purchase. I think you can buy it on iTunes. Okay, let's get to the mindfulness part of today's show. Mindful. I've been thinking a lot about meditation, and I read this great article in Vox. Well, I read through Apple News, but this came from Vox. And the article, let me see what the title of the article is. How Meditation Deconstructs Your Brain. And I was like, okay. And then I started reading it and I got really into it. But there's a couple things that stood out to me. And this one in particular, I really like because it's hard for me to share a lot of the experience I have because it sounds so weird or esoteric or unattainable. Whereas this article takes all that and tries to align it more scientifically with things we can observe now.
Hmm.
Then I just ordered a couple of this dude's books, this modern philosopher who's writing a lot of this, but this, okay. Don't we already know what meditation is? Over the last decade or two, the rise of mindfulness related practices as a profitable industry has spread the most accessible forms of meditation, like short guided stress relief meditations or gratitude journals, to millions of Americans, which is a cool thing. It's awesome. Do a gratitude journal, get your little app out that fucking helps us breathe and shit like that. Do your thing. And then it goes on to say, which is great. Basic mindfulness practices that help us concentrate on the present are both relaxing and useful. But as psychotherapist Miles Neal, who coined the term McMindfulness, writes, if stress relief is all we take meditation to be, it's like using a rocket launcher to light a candle. Some meditation practices can help ease the anxious edges of modern life, others can change your mind forever. And I think that's what I'm more about, changing the mind forever. And the article goes on to talk about, the different types of, what is it, focused attention, open monitoring, non-dual, and cessation, and what all of those things can be. And he made the analogy of the relationship to like a snow globe, where normally our minds, we see them as a snow globe where we're in the middle of it. It's just shit everywhere. There's just fucking thoughts all over the place, right? It's all over the place and it's all over. And you can't get a grasp on anything. You can't even see anything. Everything feels chaotic. Whereas different meditations learn you to pull out to like see the snow globe and then pull out to see even further. And to break it down as far as people go, getting into the non dual, which I think I dabbled in a little bit, but the non-dual, and that's more of the no existence whatsoever, more of the I can feel the universe and my cells, and they're all just kind of floating around all at once with nothing. It's like I said, it's a fucking weird thing to try and say. It's hard to articulate. It's like a laser beam full of the best energy you've ever felt in your life. That's just like fucking whoa. And then pretty soon, you get far enough back, and there's like no snow globe and shit at all. And it's like, oh, okay, it's this hyper expanse where you realize like I am the snow globe and the snow globe is just a part of me, right? I'm starting to feel that there is no spoon shit, dude. I get that now.
Yeah.
I get that now. There were so many years I contemplated that. Like, what the fuck did he mean when he was telling Neil, like, there is no spoon, there is no spoon? And I was like, I kind of fucking get it now. I get what he was saying. But meditate, like the idea of using meditation only when you're stressed out or using breathing techniques only when you're stressed out, it's not a bad thing, but it's also not going to get you very far. And I love that analogy of like him saying it's like using a rocket launcher to light a birthday cake.
Right.
Super overkill. There's so much deeper, there's so much more depth we can go. And I feel we need that right now. We need to tap back into that. Like get away from, I've been really considering getting a flip phone, dude. Getting a
Yeah.
dumb phone. Yeah, I've been really thinking about it. And putting the computer back in a room and not in my pocket, where I'm constantly
Yeah.
fucking.
I'm right there with you, dude. I'm thinking about getting rid of, they're talking about, TikTok's probably going to be gone like in a week or so. And they said that like 70 million people have dropped Facebook in like the last month. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking about like, we use it to promote this podcast, but at the same
At the
time,
same
like
time, it's like,
it's toxic, dude. I kind of want to get rid of it.
yeah, like why not? Why not just hand out some cards and be like, yo, if you heard it, get some t-shirts made and be like, yo, if you know it, you know it.
Right.
Cause yeah, and I was actually when I woke up this morning, it was 5:30, fucking dog was barking at me to let him outside and I couldn't fall back asleep. And I was actually thinking about TikTok, and I never pulled the trigger on TikTok, but I was looking at different data sets and stuff. And I want to say the average US person spends roughly 2 hours and 13 minutes a day on TikTok. And I want to say it was 49% of our population has a TikTok account. So that's one of every two people. And that's 2 hours and a couple minutes a day, which turned out to be over the course of a year, like a solid month or something like that. And it was funny because there's a ton of people I know and love all have TikTok and shit. And my wife will be like, "Oh, look at this TikTok," and I'll be like, "Okay, I'll look at it." And she was telling me about this guy. She's like, "You should see this fucking guy on TikTok. He's fucking awesome. He lives super old timey, like has an old 1920s TV and has all this shit." And she's telling me, I'm like, "That sounds dope." I was like, "But he's on TikTok?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
How fucking 1920s are, you know what I mean? If we're gonna do it, do it. But don't do it that way where it's like, oh yeah, look at, because then I don't know, it just doesn't seem right in my mind. But that's cool, let people live their lives. But we've also, my opinion is that TikTok drives an egocentric culture. And then I was reading another article that was talking about how the different social media platforms, depending on which one you spend the most time with, there might be a correlation in the way you speak as a human being.
Oh, yeah. I think that like I know people who it has changed their rhetoric.
Yeah.
And they feel like they're like, I'm fucking part of the revolution, dude, because I got the five people I watch on TikTok. So the whole world is doing it. And only 3% can change the world. And you're like,
Listen, no,
I don't know.
I do want to tell you this, that another fun fact about TikTok I read is that there are over 1 billion videos viewed every day.
Wow. And that's the thing, though. I agree with you 100% that it's like toxic and that it's like not good for you.
Right.
But I want people to change on their own, not have the government shut it the fuck down.
And I don't, yeah, but to me, I really don't care either way because I was never on TikTok. Like, I don't really have a dog in that fight. But
Don't you feel like that's kicking free speech in the nuts?
I don't know because I don't know all the, being in the government for a little while, you quickly learn how much shit you don't know about what's going on with the government and stuff. I don't know what's going on with our fucking government and China's government and all these other fucking world powers that all got their fucking fingers on nukes and shit. And we got our own armed services like leaking secrets all over and putting it on the internet and all this shit. I don't know, dude. But I also know that for me personally, it has not a lot of impact. I understand some people they make their money that way. I don't know. Maybe they'll figure it out. I did a little test recently, like you. I really want to get off everything, and I think I might. But I've got my wife right now. She's going to do my social media for me to at least kind of keep a presence. But I was like, I can't do it. But I opened up Facebook a couple different times. I'd open it, close it, open it, close it, open it, close it to see how long it took to get to an ad each time. And it was either one or two posts down, and there would usually be like 2 to 3 ads, and then like one thing, and then like probably 2 to 3 ads, and everything was sponsored. It's a business marketplace. It's not
Sure, yeah.
not what we grew up on, when that shit first came out and it was like, oh, I say, give me fucking MySpace back, dude.
That's what I was saying.
I'll pay you $10 a month for no ads, no bullshit. Just let me have a MySpace platform that I can fuck around with. I'll give you 20, maybe not 20. I'll give you $10 a month. That seems like a fair deal to have a little piece of the internet back where I can just be creative, put my shit out there and not have to worry about, because your shit doesn't even get seen anymore if you don't pay for it. Like
Oh,
you
yeah,
you
for
you
sure. You have
have
to
to pay.
boost your posts.
Right. You got to boost your post, dude, and you'll see it, and that is the world that it is. That is the social media landscape that it is. But for me, I just want to get the fuck out of all of it and just be like, because I was doing the math on like with that 2 hours, I started to break it down even more because I had nothing else to do at 5:45 in the fucking morning. I started to break it down even more to look at, okay, the average person works 8 hours a day. The average person sleeps 7 to 8 hours a day. If you account for those 2.5 hours a day, but that was only for TikTok. Like full social media was even a little bit bigger of a number. And then I want to say average screen time was like 7 to 10 hours, biggest in South Africa, which they watched a lot of fucking TV. Or maybe their social media was much bigger. But it equated to only having like a couple hours left in your day. You know?
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. For me, it just doesn't feel right. It feels not right. I don't know how else to say it. It just
You know
doesn't
what I
feel.
used to use MySpace for? Because you could like put a song on your page that would play when they opened it up. So
Yeah.
like I'd like put a song talking to my girl on there. So it was like a secret message just to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it smells funny.
And then when we broke up, then I was putting like fucked up songs on there. Like, I
Yeah.
hope she looked at my MySpace page and hears this song about how my fucking heart is shat on.
So you're that person now who's on Facebook who's just like, I can't believe this day.
Yeah.
And else, like, what do you mean?
Yeah. Just please ask me how I'm doing.
Right? Somebody pay attention to me.
But let's go back to a minute for because we started off with meditation.
Yes,
Um,
yes,
do you
yeah.
think that meditation needs to be like a fucking you sit down on a grass mat with your arms and your
No,
leg tucked in and you have to really focus on it? Or do you think you can do meditation on a fucking elevator from floor 1 to 7?
absolutely, dude. You can meditate anywhere. I do it all the time. I can stop, you can do little micro meditations, but meditation itself is not an act. Like you can't meditate in and of itself. There has to be an act of meditation. You can try and sit about nothing and try and dissipate, and that is a form of meditation. Or you can meditatively wash your dishes. You can meditatively breathe for a couple seconds. You can meditatively do anything you want in your life. You can live meditatively. But I do like to sit there and just let the shit go for a while because, again, in that article, they were talking about how the more you can let go, the more you are able to, because science is starting to tell us that what we see is not actually in front of us, but just a collection of quick recollections that our brain makes based on past experience. And that
Like a
goes all the way,
smile.
and that goes all the way back to genetic experience. And so the more you can go and remove those genetic things and remove those foundational blocks of what I guess would make an identity, once you can remove like, oh, this happened to me, so I'm this. And I think he gave an example of, imagine you were third grade, got up in front of the class and everybody fucking laughed at you. And that's a core kind of fucking deep little rivet that might
Yeah.
take some time to dig down to. But the longer you can meditate and the more you open the space up in that way, then you can get to some of the transformative stuff. Transformative.
I
But
don't care. I like it either way.
that's what she said. And the but the sitting meditations and stuff, I love doing that shit now. Like if I wish I had more time to do it. And that's where I'm trying actively right now to buy back my time. That's where I was like, okay, social media, you gotta be the first thing to go. Like I need that time back because that clearly isn't fucking, I haven't, if I'm being honest, I haven't seen it have a huge impact on my business and I haven't ever seen it have a huge impact on my podcast unless I paid for it and put an ad
Right.
out there. It was like, hey, I'm gonna throw $15 at this. Then be like, wow, you got fucking 10 new people followed you. Good for you. And I'm like, yeah, but is that translating to like something actually meaningful? Where, I consider this podcast meditation because when I'm sitting with you, I'm not doing anything but just sitting with you. And it's, I want everything in life, and it's hard to do social media meditatively.
Right. Yeah.
Very
It's
fucking hard.
like slowly poisoning yourself with iocane powder. You're
Right.
either going to die or you're going to get used to it, and both are bad.
Both are bad. Yeah.
Yeah. But let me ask you this about meditation. Uh, I've always viewed meditation as like being um omnipresent in the moment and kind of trying to like push all of the noise out of your life so that you can have like quiet in your soul. But you're talking about like being kind of reflective and meditating, or even just being present and meditating. So are all of those meditation? Is one of those meditation? What are you trying to get to?
I think I'm not trying to get to anything because every moment is fleeting. So it's every moment is new opportunity to meditate. Now, there are times when I am meditating and I'm like, okay, I am trying to dissolve. I am
Yeah.
trying to, and like you said, the thoughts, right? You talk about the place of quiet. Very rarely in meditation do I find a place of quiet. Is it ever quiet? There's always thoughts going back and forth, but it's taking that window of thoughts where they all seem like they're all captured, but then expanding the space around it until the thoughts are so small that they just become almost like nothing.
Mm,
But we tend to focus on one and grab it. It's like looking at one star and missing the entire fucking sky because you're
right.
fixated on this one star. You're like, oh, you're chasing it around. You're looking at it. I got to grab onto this thing where it's like, wait a second, let that go. Let it go however chaotic it wants to go. Let it fuck float away. Let it float away. And then you create that bigger space. For me, that works. I create the bigger space, and then the problems are just all of a sudden they're not even there. It's just like I'm in this fucking humongous whatever. But it's also then just being there. It's not like, oh, badass, I did. Because as soon as you acknowledge this place you're in, then you're out of it,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. But the more you practice, the easier it is to tap. For me, the easier it is to tap into that almost anywhere. And I think I've changed some of those foundational blocks that have resulted in a perspective change. You know what I mean? Like a
mhm.
lot of shit I used to feel I worried about and stuff, I've reframed the way, like reconstructed, I guess, my foundational building blocks in a way that makes a lot more sense and isn't driven by trauma from my past or fucking fear of my future, isn't driven by anger at somebody, this, that, or the other. It's just, comes, goes, flow. I don't know. Fuck does what it does, dude.
I think if people could just stop and think about some of your convictions that you're ready to die on, like maybe think about where those come from and why. That's something that I've really been running into a lot lately is like, I really feel this way about this thing. And then I go, oh, fuck, why do I feel that way about that? Is it my decision that I came up with? Or is this something my parents instilled into me and I probably saw it on TV and in movies? And now I think that's the right way when it's not.
Yeah, we
Uh,
were raised on laugh tracks, homie, like Family
Exactly,
Matters
dude.
and
Like
fucking
this is
Full
when you
House.
laugh.
Right. Right.
Right.
You
Um,
watch it without the laugh tracks and it's awful. You're like, fuck.
and I watched a documentary this week that really affected me. I don't want to go too far off on the weeds on this, but it was the Will Ferrell documentary on Netflix where he goes with his friend who
Oh, yes.
years old has transitioned and become transgender.
Yeah.
And I always had this notion that be whether you're bi or transgender or whatever you identify as, is that that was a sexual thing. And this dude, it wasn't like that at
No,
all.
no.
Felt like a woman and never once has like, am I gay or am I bi? He's just like, I'm a woman and I'm stuck in a man's body. And because it was Will Ferrell, I think it brought it to me to a place where, and he breaks down and fucking cries, dude, because he acts like a jackass in one part of the movie and
Yeah.
brings negative attention to his friend. And he realizes, like, oh
Yeah.
shit, like my ego hurt my friend.
Yeah.
And that all, like, it just registered with me, dude. It gave me lots of thoughts, and I've had a lot of conversations about it. So go watch that fucking documentary. And
I'll check it out. Yeah, I saw it pop up. I I personally struggle with why we have to label everything. I think that's part
why
of the problem.
exactly? Why can't we
Every
let people just be people?
and there's no like titles are only good for like okay, for instance, let's say right now you're like your pops, right? Your pops ghostly. If I cut my fucking arm off in front of you, is that arm pops ghostly? Am I less pops ghostly because I have, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like if you were to really, you could say, yes, I'm pops ghostly, but you're so many different pieces that make up so many different things. Your fucking brainstem, your eyeballs, your all these different things, that make you up. But we have this obsession with like calling things like labeling everything and it's
Yeah.
gotten really out of hand. There's a diagnosis for fucking everything, dude. Like
Mhm.
everything you can possibly imagine. And sometimes I'm like, there's probably nothing even fucking wrong.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Oh, like Shane Gillis said, dude, Downs people are the fucking homies.
Yeah,
They're
dude.
the fucking homies, man. Like, why do we have to label and say, oh, there's something, just accept it for exactly what the fuck it is. Whatever that is in front of you, don't even try and put a label on it. And then there's nothing you can do but just say, that's it. If you don't say, oh, you're this, that, or the other, you can just say, that's that. But that's a hard place to get to. That's a
Yeah.
really
And
fucking hard
nothing,
place to get to.
nothing fucking fits cleanly into a square box.
Mm-mm.
Nothing. You can make it do that, but you're losing pieces of it if you are.
Right. Yeah,
Damn,
I'll
dude.
check that
We're
out
getting
though.
to a, we're getting to a deep place today.
I'm always in a deep place. I was telling I was talking to my
That's a
wife, man. She's a man. That's what they've always said. I was talking to my wife last night or maybe yesterday, day before, and I was like, for the first time in my life, I don't I can't remember the last time I thought about a person, and I can rarely think about when I think about events. Outside of keeping, I'll read through my news fuck paper every day, look through like the headlines and stuff, stay responsibly informed, like I'm told I'm supposed to. But I find myself just wandering, thinking about ideas almost all the time, like thinking about bigger fucking ideas. Like, oh, could I fucking give away my consciousness if I wanted to? Could I fucking, I don't know, do a little teleporting in my mind? Who knows? And it's all of that stuff. Or, there's music going on in my head or a story or a fucking drawing or something going on in my head. That feels better. That feels a lot better because I don't even know how we got to this place right here. How I even started talking about this right here. But because I was talking to my wife, and the less we're just so stressed the fuck out, man. Like our culture is it's like a rubber band. You could feel it like, and shit's just about to snap. And it's not just us. It's not just a Western thing. It's a global thing right now. People are all stressed the fuck out and worried about labeling everything. And I think labels, the biggest thing that labels do is give people ammunition to say, I don't like you.
Totally. Yeah.
Because it's the same way we act with food. Like, oh, I don't like this. I don't like that. You put a label on it. If somebody just showed up with some green shit and didn't tell you, like, cut it in a fancy way, didn't tell you it was broccoli, fucking kale, spinach, who knows what, and it was just like, here, you'd be like, what is it? They'd be like, I don't know. Just fucking eat it. You'd be like, I don't know if I'll like it or not. Be like, you don't know.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. We bring those notions with us to almost everything. We bring those preconceptions of bias based on past experience. I just want to chill out, live life, draw some tattoos on people, fucking hopefully make some people's lives a little bit better. If I can do that, love, treat people with kindness, treat people with fucking kindness, man. That's all it takes. That's the secret key. And nobody seems to really like doing it too much, though. The ego wants to say, no, me, mine. But yeah, anyway, you got anything else? I know we rambled there for a minute.
No, I don't know. I think we scratched some surfaces that maybe
I think we did too. Then we get into a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
I'm gonna I want to dig apart that article. I was just reading it this morning. I want to actually dig it apart and bring some of the ideas more than what I did today to the podcast because there's a lot more there. I was already thinking like I want to write that down, even just for my own practice, And that's another thing. Like, what are we seeking out when we're on the internet or on social media? What are we looking for? Are we bettering ourselves? Or, it's funny to laugh at some shit sometimes. Like, we all gathered around the TV and watched America's Funniest Home Videos. But when it's like 8 hours, 7 hours a day, just watching people fall down, get hurt, or some dog with a stupid fucking face doing something ridiculous, all the information's out there. It's all out there, available to every single human being on this planet. Let's all be better together. Be better together. Yeah. So she said. Or Pop Extravaganza, episode 59. I have been Pops Ghostly.
And I'm Tandy Starfruit.
And we will talk to you next week. Tandy Starfruit.
No! No! No!
Extravaganza.